The Galactic Council gathered inside a great crystal hall floating above a glowing blue nebula. Dozens of alien races sat in silence as a large holographic image of Earth flickered before them. The planet looked broken and quiet. Smoke covered continents, and the last human signals had stopped days ago. To the Council, it meant only one thing: humanity was finished. The Council leader, a tall creature with silver skin and golden eyes, stood and looked down at the image. "The humans fought longer than expected," he said in a calm voice. "But now their resistance has ended. Their fleets are destroyed, their cities are gone, and their leaders are dead. We will send a message to all systems: Earth has fallen." The hall filled with low murmurs of satisfaction. The war had been long and costly. Humanity was small compared to the great empires of the galaxy. They were new to space, aggressive, unpredictable, and impossible to control. The Council had tried peace, diplomacy, and threats, but humans refused to kneel. In the end, the Council sent fleets of warships to make Earth surrender. Billions had died. Now, it seemed over. A glowing screen beside the Council leader blinked suddenly. "Incoming transmission," said one of the aides. "From where?" the leader asked, frowning. "Earth," came the answer. The room grew quiet. The Council leader motioned for the message to play. Static filled the air, then a faint human voice came through. It was broken and full of noise, but clear enough to send chills through the hall. "This is Earth Command. We are not done." The signal cut out. Silence followed. Some laughed nervously. Others whispered that it must be a leftover echo, an automated message. But the Council leader did not laugh. He stared at the screen, watching the planet's shadow move slowly across the stars. "We will see," he said softly. The meeting ended, but unease hung in the air. Many Council members returned to their ships, confident that the human threat was gone. Yet somewhere deep inside, a few felt something strange, a small fear they could not explain. Far below, on the ruined surface of Earth, the night was filled with smoke and fire. Broken cities lay silent under the stars. But beneath the ground, in an old military tunnel under London, faint lights burned. The air was thick with dust and the smell of oil. Generators hummed softly. A group of survivors sat around glowing screens. They were soldiers, engineers, and scientists, tired, hungry, but alive. At the center stood Commander Arya Kane. Her uniform was torn, her face covered with soot, but her eyes were sharp and calm. She stared at the last transmission log on the screen. "Did the Council receive the message?" she asked. A young technician nodded. "Yes, ma'am." The signal was confirmed before the satellite was destroyed. Arya let out a long breath. "Good," she said quietly. "Let them think we're weak. Let them believe we're gone." She turned to face the group. "But we're not done. Not yet." The room came alive with movement. Men and women began checking equipment, repairing cables, reactivating old defense systems buried deep under the planet's crust. Ancient machines, older than the war itself, began to hum. The humans had one last plan, a secret known only to a few survivors. They called it Project Phoenix. It was a desperate plan, a gamble, built on scraps of alien technology and human stubbornness. Arya walked down a dark corridor filled with flickering lights. On the wall were names of those who had fallen. She stopped for a moment, touching one of the names. "You didn't die for nothing," she whispered. Outside, above the clouds, alien drones patrolled the sky, scanning for signs of life. They saw nothing but ashes. But underground, the sound of engines echoed faintly. Deep under the ocean, in an abandoned submarine base, other survivors worked in silence. Giant doors that had not opened in decades slowly began to move. Massive steel shapes slept in the dark, waiting. On the moon, hidden in shadow, an old human outpost blinked back to life. Faded flags still hung on the walls, and broken satellites started to orbit again. The humans were waking up. They had lost their cities, their armies, and almost everything else, but they still had their will. And that was enough. Back in the Council's hall, the leader received a report. Scouts near Jupiter report strange readings, said an aide. Metal fragments, possibly debris from human ships. The leader nodded. Clean the system, he ordered. No trace of them should remain. He looked once more at the hologram of Earth. If humans survived, they will learn that resistance brings only suffering. But far away, under the ruins of London, Commander Arya stood before a massive screen showing the stars. Her voice was steady as she spoke to her crew. They think we are finished, she said. They think Earth is dead. Let's show them how wrong they are. Her hand pressed a button, and across the world, hidden systems came online. A low vibration shook the tunnels. Old satellites turned their lenses toward the stars. The first phase of Project Phoenix had begun. Above the burning planet, in the cold silence of space, a single satellite blinked one last message into the dark. 3 words. Simple. Defiant. We are coming. Under the ruins of old cities, in the forgotten corners of the earth, life still breathed in secret. The world above was silent, burned and broken, but below the surface, deep tunnels and hidden chambers buzzed softly with power. The survivors called these places the shadows. Here, in the darkness, the last hope of humanity prepared to rise again. Commander Arya Kane walked through a long steel corridor lit by flickering orange lights. The air smelled of oil, dust, and metal. Around her, engineers and soldiers worked tirelessly, repairing broken machines, checking power lines, and connecting old circuits that hadn't worked in years. The sound of hammers and generators filled the air, mixed with quiet voices and the occasional laugh. They were tired, but they refused to stop. They all knew what was at stake. Report, Arya said, stopping beside a large console where an old man was typing furiously on a keyboard. Dr. Miles Harker looked up, his glasses cracked, his hands covered in grease. The fusion cores are stable, he said. But the outer reactors will need another day before we can test them. We're rebuilding faster than I expected. These people, they remind me why we fought. Arya nodded. We don't have much time, Doctor. The Council will come back once they realize the transmission was real. She looked at the holographic map glowing above the console. It showed the Earth, marked with faint dots, hidden bases scattered across continents, connected by secret tunnels and underground cables. Each dot pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. Project Phoenix is alive, she whispered. Miles smiled tiredly. It was always alive, Commander. We just had to wake it up. In the next chamber, a group of young soldiers trained in silence. Their weapons were old, patched together from broken alien rifles and human parts. They had never seen sunlight. Most were born during the war, raised in the shadows. But in their eyes burned something fierce, something not even the Council could understand. One of them, a young man named Kellen, paused as Arya entered. Commander, he said, standing tall. Is it true? Are we really going to fight again? Arya studied him for a moment. He couldn't be more than 20, but his face was already hard from years of fear and loss. Yes, she said softly. We're going to fight. But not like before. This time, we don't aim to survive. We aim to win. Kellen's eyes lit up. Around him, the others straightened. Arya saw hope sparking in their faces, the kind of hope that could move mountains. She walked past them and entered the central command room, where a large holographic display showed the solar system. Red zones marked alien control regions. Only Earth remained gray, silent, hidden. A voice came through the speakers. This is Base Echo, Antarctica. Construction on hangar doors is complete. Awaiting activation codes. Arya tapped a small device on her wrist. Code accepted, she said. Prepare for launch sequence trials in 12 hours. Her calm voice carried across every underground base. Far below the frozen deserts of Antarctica, massive machines stirred. Huge steel doors, buried for decades under ice, began to tremble. The world itself seemed to breathe again. Back in London, Arya turned to Miles. Do you ever think about what happens if we fail? She asked quietly. The old man sighed. Every day. But failure doesn't scare me anymore. Extinction does. And I'd rather die fighting than vanish quietly. Arya gave a small smile. Then we keep fighting. Hours passed. The base came alive like a sleeping beast. Lights returned to long-dead corridors. Water pumps rumbled. Drones flew through tunnels carrying supplies. Across the planet, other bases did the same. In the mountains of Asia, engineers powered up massive engines. In the depths of the Atlantic, submarines reactivated their systems. Humanity's ghost was becoming flesh again. Outside, alien patrols continued to scan the skies, unaware of the movement below. The Council's intelligence reports said the humans were extinct. No life readings, no transmissions. But in truth, Earth was never more alive. In one corner of the command center, a small radio crackled. A voice spoke softly, filled with static. This is Lunar Outpost 9. We are online. Power levels stable. Awaiting orders. Arya closed her eyes for a moment, relief flooding her chest. Welcome back, Outpost 9, she said. You've been asleep for too long. The crew around her cheered quietly. For the first time in months, the humans felt united again, not just survivors, but soldiers of a forgotten army. Arya stood before them, her voice firm but filled with emotion. The Council thinks they destroyed us. They believe humanity is nothing but dust and memory. But they made one mistake. They left us time. And with time, we build. We learn. We come back stronger. Project Phoenix is our answer. We will rise, not for revenge, but for freedom. A deep rumble shook the base as the main reactor came online. The lights brightened. The screens flickered to life, showing rows of active systems. Arya looked up at the holographic map of Earth again. The gray dots began to glow brighter, one by one, until the entire planet shimmered faintly in gold. Humanity's heartbeat had returned. Far above, in the orbit of Mars, an alien scout ship detected a faint pulse of energy coming from Earth. The signal was strange, old but powerful, coded in human data form. The alien pilot frowned and sent a report back to the Council. No one there believed it. They marked it as equipment error. But deep below the planet's surface, the humans smiled. They knew the Council would not understand. They never did. For centuries, humanity had been underestimated, called weak, chaotic, emotional. But that emotion, that chaos, was what made them unstoppable. Commander Arya looked out through a cracked observation dome toward the distant stars. You wanted us gone, she whispered. Instead, you made us stronger. Behind her, the symbol of Project Phoenix glowed on the wall, a bird rising from fire. The next phase was ready. In the dark, the shadows of Earth began to move. Far away from Earth, on the shining world of Varelian Prime, the Galactic Council met once again. The hall was bright and vast, filled with shimmering lights and alien voices that echoed through the chamber. Yet something was different this time. There was unease in the air, a tension that hadn't been there before. The council leader, High Chancellor Varen, stood tall in the center, his golden eyes flicking across the room as new reports came in. A nervous aide approached, holding a glowing tablet. Chancellor, the aide said, voice trembling, our scouts near the Sol system have gone missing. The hall grew silent. Varen frowned. Missing, he repeated. Explain. The aide swallowed. 3 ships were sent to investigate strange readings around Jupiter. None have reported back. The last transmission was cut off mid-sentence. Varen's gaze darkened. Show the recording. A hologram appeared above the table. Static filled the air, then an image, blurry, but clear enough. A massive shadow moved across the stars, far larger than any known debris. Then the feed ended abruptly with a burst of white light. Gasps spread through the chamber. It could be interference, one council member said quickly. Or leftover human technology malfunctioning. Another shook his head. No, The energy reading is too organized. It's deliberate. Varen tapped his clawed fingers against the table. Deliberate, he said slowly. Are you suggesting humans are still alive? The hall fell into whispers. Impossible, someone muttered. Their fleets were destroyed. Their cities turned to ash. They can't be rebuilding under those conditions. But deep down, no one felt certain. The human message still haunted them. We are not done. It echoed like a ghost through every communication channel, refusing to fade. Varen turned toward the screen again. If there are survivors, he said coldly, we will find them. Prepare a cleansing fleet. Send it to Earth. The orders were clear, and the aides hurried to obey. But as the council dispersed, several members lingered behind, exchanging worried glances. One whispered, "Do you remember the first time we met humans? They were primitive, yes, but they learned too fast. What if they've learned again?" Varen ignored them and left the chamber, though the question echoed in his mind. Meanwhile, near Jupiter's orbit, silence ruled. Pieces of metal floated in the dark, the remains of alien scout ships. Hidden behind the gas giant storms, something vast moved quietly, camouflaged, watching. Inside one of those hidden ships, Commander Arya Kane stood before a glowing tactical screen. Her crew worked in near darkness, every sound hushed. "Enemy scouts neutralized," said a voice from the console. No transmissions escaped. Arya nodded slowly. "Good. Keep the signal jammers active. The longer they think we're gone, the better." Around her, the bridge was filled with human faces, tired but focused. The warship Erebus was one of the first rebuilt vessels of Project Phoenix, and it now served as the hidden command ship for the reborn Terran fleet. Its surface was built from salvaged alien metal, fused with human technology. It was silent, invisible, and deadly. Arya stared out the viewport at Jupiter's swirling storms. "How many ships do we have ready?" she asked. A young officer replied, 46 combat ready, 20 still in testing. More rising from Antarctica base soon. "And the others?" "Still under construction." Arya nodded. "That will have to do." She turned away and pressed a command key. A new holographic map appeared, one showing the entire solar system. Red dots marked alien patrol routes. Blue dots, tiny, faint, marked hidden human positions. For the first time in months, the blue dots were increasing. Earth was waking up. Back on Varelian Prime, the Council fleet prepared for launch. Massive alien battleships lined up across the orbital docks, each one glowing with power. The fleet admiral, a creature named Dravik, looked out over the shining metal army. "We will cleanse the Sol system," he said proudly. "And this time, we will leave nothing behind." But even as the ships departed, strange energy readings began to appear near the moon. The Council sensors detected them, but the readings vanished before they could lock on. It was as if something was watching them, waiting. Hours later, the alien fleet entered Earth's orbit. The planet looked dead, covered in dark clouds. The fleet commander sent a message to the Council. "No signs of life detected. Proceeding with surface scan." Then, suddenly, every scanner went dark. The ships lost contact with each other. One by one, their lights flickered out. "Report." Dravik shouted. "What's happening?" A voice answered, panicked. "Something's jamming our systems. Unknown interference from below." And then, through the static, a human voice came through the main channel. Calm, cold, and familiar. "You came back too soon," it said. "We weren't ready to see you yet." The aliens froze. "Identify yourself," Dravik demanded. The voice replied, "We are Earth." In that moment, from the dark side of the planet, shapes began to rise. Massive, silent warships with black hulls and glowing blue engines. They broke through the clouds one by one, like ghosts returning from the grave. The alien ships opened fire, but their shots passed harmlessly through empty space. The human ships were using new cloaking tech, something the Council had never seen. One by one, the alien cruisers vanished in bursts of flame. In the council hall, panic spread as reports came in. Fleet Alpha destroyed. No survivors. Unknown weapons detected. Varen slammed his fist against the table. Impossible! How could they build a fleet in secret? An aide whispered, "They must have used the underground cities. They never stopped fighting." The hall filled with shouting voices. Fear had finally taken hold. For the first time in history, the mighty Galactic Council felt small. On the Erebus, Commander Arya watched the holographic screen as the last alien ship broke apart in orbit. "They wanted a war," she said quietly. "Now they'll have one." Her crew cheered, but Arya's expression remained cold. She knew this was only the beginning. The Council would come with everything they had next time. But she was ready. Humanity was ready. In the silence of space, the Earth glowed faintly behind her. The shadows of Earth had become the sword of mankind. The galaxy had just learned to fear the dark again. The frozen wastelands of Antarctica had been silent for decades, a graveyard of ice and snow hiding secrets buried since the first days of the war. Now that silence began to break. A deep tremor rolled beneath the ice as giant metal doors slowly pushed open, cracking through frozen layers like thunder. Steam and blue light poured out from the openings as the Earth itself seemed to breathe again. Underneath the surface, hidden hangars came alive. Engines that had not been touched for years roared to life. The air was filled with the smell of ozone and burning fuel. Dozens of enormous warships stood in long rows, covered in frost and dust, each one bearing the mark of humanity, a silver eagle rising from flames. Above them, Commander Arya Kane stood on a high observation deck, her hands clasped behind her back. Her eyes reflected the bright glow of awakening engines. "Begin launch sequence," she ordered. "Let them see we are not ghosts." Engineers rushed to their stations. Lights flickered red as massive clamps released the ships one by one. The ground shook. The sound was like the heartbeat of a giant waking from its sleep. From hidden speakers, an ancient recording began to play, the Earth's national anthem, patched together from fragments of history. It was not perfect, but its melody filled the bass with pride. People stopped for a moment to listen. Some had tears in their eyes. For the first time in years, they heard the song of their world again. Arya turned to her crew. "Today we rise," she said simply. "Not as the broken, but as the unbroken." The first ship to lift from the ice was the Erebus, its hull black and shining like a blade. Following it came Aurora, Valiant, and Horizon, each ship a symbol of the nations that once divided humanity but now stood united under one banner, the banner of survival. Flames and smoke burst from the hangars as the ships pierced through the stormy skies, climbing higher and higher until the gray clouds swallowed them. On the surface, the people left behind watched with awe as streaks of light tore through the heavens. The ground shook beneath them, and some fell to their knees, praying or cheering. The world that had once been silent was alive with thunder. High above the clouds, the warships broke free into the vacuum of space. The sunlight hit their hulls, turning them golden. Around Earth's orbit, dozens more ships appeared from hidden stations, some old and scarred, others newly built. They formed into formation like a flock of steel birds surrounding their home. On the Erebus bridge, Arya's voice rang clear. "Fleet Command, status report." "All ships online," replied her second officer. "Weapons charged, shields stable, engines running at 80%. The fleet is ready, Commander." Arya looked out at the blue planet below. "Then it begins." She tapped the command console. Across the system, encrypted messages burst into the void, summoning every surviving base, outpost, and ship still loyal to Earth. The message was short but powerful. "The Phoenix has risen." Within hours, replies came flooding in from across the solar system. "This is Mars Outpost. Systems active. Joining the fleet. Lunar Base Omega reporting, fully operational. Neptune Station ready for defense." The dead system was no longer silent. Human voices filled the stars once again. On Varelian Prime, the the Galactic Council received the impossible news. One by one, reports came in from their outposts. Unidentified fleet detected near Earth. Numbers rising. Energy readings far exceed known human limits. Unknown signal identified, Project Phoenix. The council leader, Chancellor Varen, stood frozen. "That's not possible," he said. "Earth was finished." His aide replied quietly, "It seems they disagree." Panic spread through the council hall. Some called for diplomacy, others for full-scale destruction. But Varen's pride refused to allow hesitation. "Prepare the vanguard fleet," he commanded. "We end this before it spreads." Yet even as he spoke, deep space scanners showed new human warships appearing faster than the council could react. They were no longer a small resistance. They were an army. Back near Earth, Aria's fleet completed formation. Her ships floated silently in orbit, their dark hulls reflecting the glow of distant stars. "Activate the beacon," Aria said. A giant pulse of light shot outward from the Erebus, spreading across space like a flare. It carried a single message in every alien language known: "This world is defended." The message reached nearby colonies, trade routes, and patrol ships. Throughout the galaxy, the words spread like wildfire. The humans were alive. On board the Erebus, a young pilot named Kellen watched through the viewport, eyes wide with wonder. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Aria smiled faintly. "It's home." Then her tone hardened. "Signal all ships. We begin patrol around the planet. No one enters our system without permission." As the human fleet spread out, the Earth below began to change. From orbit, one could see the faint lights of cities returning. Power grids reconnected, and satellite networks came online. The planet was healing. For the first time since the war, night on Earth glowed again. Far beyond the moon, alien probes detected the activity and sent urgent messages back to the Council. Their data revealed something terrifying. The human fleet was not just large, it was advancing. Their technology had evolved, mixing alien energy cores with human design. The readings showed weapons capable of cutting through Council shields. Fear spread quickly among the alien ranks. In the Council chamber, Varen slammed his fist onto the table. "How did they rebuild so fast?" he demanded. "Who helped them?" No one had an answer. One of the advisors finally spoke. "Chancellor, perhaps we should consider peace talks before." "Silence!" Varen shouted. "There will be no peace with a species that refuses to kneel." But deep inside, even he could feel it: fear. The same fear humanity once felt now belonged to the Council. Back aboard the Erebus, Aria watched as the fleet aligned in perfect formation, the symbol of Earth glowing brightly on every hull. Her voice echoed through every ship's speakers. "We are humanity," she said. "We do not surrender. We do not hide. From this day forward, the stars will know our name again." Outside the windows, the fleet engines flared to life, filling the darkness with light. The Earth was no longer alone. The awakening fleet had risen, and the galaxy was about to remember why humanity was feared. The news of Earth's fleet spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every communication channel buzzed with disbelief. Planets that once mocked humans now whispered their name with fear. Some refused to believe it. "Humans cannot return," they said. They were destroyed. But in the Council's war room, proof glowed on every screen. Dozens of human warships surrounded Earth, and more were appearing by the hour. The Council leader, Chancellor Varen, stood silently before the holographic display. His expression was cold, but his golden eyes showed unease. "They've rebuilt," he said quietly. "And they've learned." His advisors argued in panic, their voices overlapping. "We must strike now," shouted one. "If we wait, they will grow stronger." Another countered. "We should talk to them, Chancellor. Negotiate. Perhaps they only want peace." Varen turned sharply. "Peace?" he hissed. "Peace with the species that burned our fleets? No. We end this before it becomes a war." He pointed toward the glowing image of Earth. Assemble every ship. Send the Vanguard fleet. I want that planet erased. Hours later, the alien fleet entered the Sol system. It was the largest armada the Council had ever sent. Hundreds of battleships, cruisers, and carriers, each armed with weapons powerful enough to vaporize continents. They advanced like a silver storm through the void, confident and proud. But what they didn't know was that they were being watched. Hidden among the shadows of asteroids and planets, human stealth ships tracked their every move. On the bridge of the Erebus, Commander Arya Kane studied the incoming formation on her screen. Her crew worked in silence, their faces calm but focused. "They're coming straight for us," said her second officer. "No hesitation." Arya nodded. "Good. That will make it easier." She turned to the weapons officer. "Charge rail cannons and prepare the fusion lances. No one fires until I say." The ship's interior glowed faintly red as power surged through its systems. Outside, the black hull of the Erebus reflected no light, invisible to the enemy's scanners. The alien fleet reached the orbit of Mars and began scanning the area. Their sensors showed nothing. No ships, no movement. "Where are they?" one of the alien commanders demanded. "Our readings say they're here." Suddenly, the space around them flickered. Dozens of dark shapes appeared out of nowhere, rising from the shadows of Mars like ghosts. "Targets detected," screamed a sensor officer. "Unknown vessels incoming." Before the aliens could react, the first human ship opened fire. A beam of pure blue energy shot across the void and tore through the alien flagship's shields as if they were paper. The ship exploded instantly, breaking apart in a silent flash of light. The aliens panicked. What weapon was that? How are they cloaked? They're everywhere. The humans moved with precision, each attack coordinated perfectly. For every alien ship destroyed, 2 more fell moments later. The Erebus led the assault, its cannons firing in rhythmic bursts that shattered enemy formations. Arya watched calmly as explosions lit up the stars. "Keep formation," she ordered. "Focus fire on their command ships. They'll break once their leaders fall." Her crew obeyed without hesitation. Every shot found its target. Every move was deliberate. For the first time in history, humanity was not the prey, they were the hunters. Within minutes, half the alien fleet was gone. Their remaining ships tried to retreat, but human fighters pursued them relentlessly. Small, fast, and agile, the fighters darted between the enemy cruisers, dropping magnetic bombs that ripped through metal and energy shields alike. "Their shields don't work," one alien captain cried. "Their weapons are tuned to our frequencies." In the Council's main chamber, distant sensors transmitted the chaos in real time. Varen watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart. "Impossible," he whispered. "How did they do this?" His aide replied softly, "They studied us, Chancellor. They learned from every battle." Back in space, the surviving alien ships began to scatter, trying to escape the massacre. Arya opened a communication channel and spoke, her voice calm and cold. "This is Commander Arya Kane of the Terran Fleet. You came to finish us. Instead, you've met humanity again. Remember this moment. Remember that we don't die, we adapt." Her words carried across the system, heard by every surviving alien ship before their signals cut out. One of her officers turned to her. "Commander, they're retreating." Arya's eyes narrowed. "Let them. Fear is a weapon too." As the last alien ship vanished into hyperspace, silence filled the void. The wreckage of the Vanguard fleet drifted through orbit like silver dust. The human ships regrouped around Earth, their engines glowing softly. Cheers erupted across the fleet. In every ship, soldiers hugged, laughed, and cried. After decades of defeat and hiding, they had won their first true victory. On the bridge, Arya remained still. She looked out at the stars, her reflection shining faintly in the glass. "We've only just begun," she said quietly. "The Council will return. Stronger. Smarter. But so will we. Back on Varelian Prime, the council hall was in chaos. Some demanded war. Others begged for peace. Chancellor Varan stood alone, his expression dark. "They've declared themselves," he said. "They are no longer just survivors. They are a threat to the galaxy." He turned to his generals. "Then so be it. Prepare the Starbreaker. If the humans want a war, we will bring them the end of all wars." Meanwhile, in Earth's orbit, the Terran fleet drifted silently. The stars were calm again, but every soldier knew it was only the calm before the storm. Arya watched the planet below, a small smile touching her lips. "They thought we were finished," she whispered. "They were wrong." Her ship's engines flared, joining the thousands of lights now orbiting the planet. Humanity had returned to the stars, and this time, they were ready to fight for them. The galaxy trembled in the weeks that followed the Battle of Mars. The Council's pride had been shattered, their fleets humiliated by the very species they once called primitive. Across alien worlds, whispers spread, humans had returned, stronger than ever. Some races celebrated in secret, hoping humanity's defiance would weaken the Council's grip. Others prayed the humans would not come for them next. But in the grand halls of Varelian Prime, there was no celebration, only fury. Chancellor Varan stood before his generals, his voice low and sharp. "You allowed them to humiliate us. You let our fleet burn." The generals bowed their heads in silence. "No more," Varan continued. "If humanity wants war, we will give them something they cannot fight, fear itself." He turned toward a massive hologram showing a black, circular object orbiting a dying star. "Activate the Starbreaker." The room fell silent. The Starbreaker was not a ship. It was a weapon the size of a small moon, built to end wars by ending worlds. Powered by the energy of collapsing stars, it could vaporize entire systems. For centuries, it had remained unused, a myth. Until now. "You mean to destroy Earth completely?" one general asked quietly. Varan's eyes glowed. "I mean to erase it." Meanwhile, far from the Council's rage, the Terran fleet had become a beacon of hope. The rebuilt Earth shone brighter every day. New cities rose from ruins, powered by hybrid human-alien technology. The Moon and Mars were now full of life, their colonies connected by trade routes and defense networks. Humanity had done the impossible. They had become a spacefaring power once again. But Commander Arya Kane knew peace would not last. Every night she stood on the bridge of the Erebus, watching the stars, waiting for the next attack. And it came sooner than anyone expected. "Commander," said her communications officer one morning, "long-range scanners are picking up a massive energy signature near Neptune's orbit." Arya turned sharply. "Council fleet." "No, ma'am," he said. "Something larger. Much larger." The room darkened as the holographic screen displayed the incoming signal. A cold wave of dread filled the air. A black sphere the size of a moon moved slowly toward the solar system, surrounded by smaller escort ships. Its core pulsed like a dying sun. Arya stared in silence. "The Starbreaker," she whispered. Within hours, the entire Terran fleet was mobilized. Ships gathered in formation around Jupiter, preparing for battle. Across every colony, alarms rang, and people watched the skies with fear and hope. In Earth's underground command center, scientists worked desperately to analyze the weapon. "If it reaches orbit, it will destroy the planet," Dr. Miles Harker said grimly. "Our shields won't stop it." Arya listened through the comms. "Then we don't let it reach orbit," she said firmly. The Terran fleet launched. Dozens of ships roared into deep space, heading straight for the Starbreaker. The void between Neptune and Jupiter lit up with engines and gunfire as the two forces collided. The Council's escort ships fought fiercely, but the humans had learned from every battle. They fought like ghosts, using stealth and precision. For every human ship destroyed, 3 Council ships fell. Yet the Starbreaker continued to move forward, unstoppable. On the Erebus, Arya's crew fought with everything they had. "Concentrate all fire on the weapon's core," she shouted. Massive beams of blue light struck the black sphere, but its shields held firm. The weapon's surface glowed red, then fired back. A single beam lanced across the battlefield, slicing through half the human fleet in an instant. Ships vanished without a trace. The shockwave hit the Erebus, throwing crew members to the floor. "Damage report," Arya demanded. "Severe hull breach on lower decks," her officer replied. "We've lost the Aurora and Horizon. Commander, we can't hold this line much longer." Arya clenched her fists. "We don't need to hold it," she said quietly. "We just need to buy time." She opened a secure channel. "Activate Operation Last Dawn." Across the fleet, captains received the order. They understood what it meant. There would be no retreat. The operation had one goal: stop the Starbreaker at any cost. Human ships began forming a new line, charging directly toward the massive weapon. They fired relentlessly, ignoring their own losses. The space around Neptune turned into a storm of fire and debris. In the Council's control chamber aboard the Starbreaker, Admiral Dravik laughed. "Look at them," he said. "Throwing their lives away. Glorious, but pointless." But then the laughter faded as the Starbreaker sensors detected a new signal, something small approaching fast. "What is that?" he demanded. The technician froze. It's a human shuttle, sir." Inside that shuttle sat Commander Arya Kane, her face lit by the glow of the weapon's energy field. She had left the Erebus, piloting the shuttle herself. In the back of the craft was a device. Small, but powerful. The last creation of Dr. Harker, a quantum bomb capable of collapsing a star. Arya's voice echoed across the human fleet. "To every ship that can still hear me, hold the line. You've done enough. I'll finish it." Her crew on the Erebus cried out, begging her to turn back, but she had already made her choice. The shuttle raced through the chaos, dodging debris and enemy fire. Alarms blared as the Starbreaker's defenses targeted her. She flew faster, weaving through explosions. When she reached the weapon's core, she smiled faintly. "For every world we lost," she whispered, "we light the sky one last time." Then she triggered the bomb. The explosion was beyond imagination. A blinding wave of light expanded outward, swallowing everything in silence. The Starbreaker vanished, its massive frame torn apart from within. The shockwave stretched across the solar system, scattering debris like ash. For minutes, there was nothing. No sound, no motion, only light. When the light faded, only wreckage remained. The Starbreaker was gone. The Council's fleet was gone. The Erebus, half destroyed, floated among the ruins. Inside, Arya's crew stared at the screens in stunned silence. "Did she make it?" one whispered. No one answered. The channel was dead. But on Earth, when the explosion's light reached the sky, people looked up in awe. They thought it was sunrise, but it was something far greater. It was the dawn of humanity's victory, and the price that came with it. Silence filled the void after the Starbreaker's destruction. For the first time in decades, the galaxy was still. The great weapon that threatened to end humanity was gone, erased in a single flash of light. But with it, so too was Commander Arya Kane, the woman who had led the fight, the one who had carried humanity's hope into the heart of the storm. On Earth, her name spread like fire across the networks. People cried, cheered, and mourned all at once. Children painted her face on city walls. Soldiers whispered her name before sleeping. To them, she was not dead, she was legend. Yet among the stars, her crew aboard the Erebus refused to rest. "Commander Kane may have fallen," said Captain Leon Mercer, now in command, "but her mission is not over. We fight until humanity is safe. Until no one dares threaten Earth again." His voice carried through the fleet, firm and unshaken. The ships, battered and broken, aligned once more under a single flag, the Terran Star. Far away, in the deep chambers of the Galactic Council, Chancellor Varen stared into the dark. Reports of the Starbreaker's destruction had shattered his calm. His generals stood trembling before him, unable to meet his gaze. "You mean to tell me," he said slowly, That a single human destroyed the most powerful weapon in the galaxy? No one answered. One woman, he continued, brought ruin to an empire of 1,000 worlds? His voice grew colder. Then perhaps it is not she who was powerful. Perhaps we have grown weak. The council's silence deepened. Some members whispered that the war was over, that the humans had earned their freedom. Others, more prideful, demanded revenge. But Varen knew the truth. Every move against humanity would only make them stronger. Every strike would teach them faster. End the war, he ordered finally. No more fleets. No more attacks. Let them have their Earth. But watch them. Learn from them. Because one day, they will come for us again, and when they do, we must be ready. Months passed. The wreckage of war was cleared from orbit. Human ships returned home, carrying the wounded, the broken, and the hopeful. Earth itself began to heal. New governments rose, built not on fear but unity. The banner of the Terran Alliance flew over cities from London to New Delhi to New Olympus on Mars. Humanity had changed. They were no longer survivors, they were pioneers. They built new ships, faster and stronger. They explored beyond the solar system, mapping the stars that once belonged to others. Yet, even in their victory, one truth remained: freedom always has a price. Aria's sacrifice haunted them, a reminder of what strength truly cost. One evening, Captain Mercer stood in the observation deck of the Erebus, now repaired and serving as the flagship of the Terran fleet. He looked at the stars in silence until Dr. Miles Harker joined him. She would have loved to see this, Harker said softly. Mercer nodded. She saw it, he replied. In her own way, she saw it before any of us. They stood together, watching a new colony ship launch toward the nearest star. It was named Kane's Light. The engines flared, and a wave of golden light spread through the void. A symbol of hope, for all humankind. Meanwhile, on a distant, forgotten moon, something stirred among the ruins of the Starbreaker. The weapon's shattered fragments floated like bones in the cold darkness. Inside one twisted section of its core, a faint light flickered. A human distress signal, ancient but clear. A damaged pod opened slowly, releasing a burst of steam. Inside lay Arya Kane, alive but unconscious, her face pale, her suit cracked. Somehow, the explosion had thrown her clear of the blast, sealing her inside a fragment of the Starbreaker's remains. Her eyes opened weakly, staring into the void. "Where am I?" she whispered. Her helmet lights flickered. "This isn't Earth." She looked at the stars, unfamiliar and strange. "I made it," she said softly, a faint smile forming. "I actually made it." Then her voice grew determined. "If I'm alive, then humanity's not done yet." Back on Earth, the Erebus's sensors suddenly detected something unusual, a faint beacon transmitting from deep space. "Captain, we're picking up a human signal," said the communications officer. "It's weak, but it's old military code." Mercer froze. "Whose code?" The officer hesitated. "Commander Arya Kane's, sir." The bridge fell silent. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Mercer gave the order. "Prepare a search expedition. We find her." Cheers erupted across the deck. For the first time in months, hope burned bright again. The news spread quickly: Commander Kane might be alive. Across the Terran Alliance, people wept with joy. Scientists began decoding the signal, tracing its origin to a distant system on the edge of Council territory. The fleet began preparations to go beyond known space. It wasn't just a rescue, it was a message to the galaxy. Humanity would not rest, would not fade, and would never again bow to any power. They would reclaim every star they had lost. As the Erebus and its escort ships departed Earth's orbit, the planet glowed blue and beautiful below. Crowds gathered across every city, watching the fleet rise through the sky. "For Arya," someone whispered. "For all of us," another replied. The engines flared, and the ships vanished into the stars. Somewhere, far beyond human reach, Arya Kane opened her eyes again. Her pod's power flickered, showing faint readings of nearby structures, ruins of something ancient, older than any council civilization. She stepped out, breathing heavily, her suit scraping against alien stone. This place, she whispered, wasn't built by them. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, and the ground pulsed with a heartbeat-like rhythm. She looked up at the stars, her eyes steady. If I found something older than the council, she said quietly, then maybe I found what they were so afraid of. Back in the Terran command center, the scientists detected one final burst from her beacon, a single message sent before it vanished forever. It read, "I found something. Not human. Not council. Watching us all." Then the signal went dark. Captain Mercer stood before the flickering screen, his face pale but resolute. "Set course for her last coordinates," he said. "If there's something out there watching us, it's time humanity looked back." The crew nodded, engines roared, and the fleet moved forward into the unknown. And as the stars stretched before them, the words of Arya Kane echoed across history. Simple, fearless, human. We don't surrender. We evolve. The galaxy had changed forever. Humanity was no longer the hunted, they had become the spark that would light the universe.